Good day everyone, I am Planius and I will be discussing an art movement that talks about nonsense and it's called Dadaism Art. What comes into your mind when you hear the word Dadaism? So, to know that, let's proceed to another slide. Next slide please. So Dadaism is the word nonsense and it shows irrationality. Dada is a French term for a rocking horse or a happy horse. And in Romanian language, it means yes as a parody of population sinless obedience to the authority. But here's another question. Why is Dada means nonsense? It's because it was the artist's aim to confuse the audience and because they believed that things were no longer on the same place as before. They wanted to irritate, stir up, and provoke. Also, they wanted to spread nonsense in order to shake up the belief of common social values and for the use all register of humor and satire. But before we talk to its characteristics, let me tell you a quick history of Dadaism art. So, Dadaism is an art movement that proved to be one of the revolutionary art in the early 20th century, born as a response to the modern age. And during World War I, many artists and thinkers are against the war and went to Switzerland and Zurich. Hugo Ball and Annie Hennings started the Cabaret Voltaire on February 5, 1916. This place became the gathering spot for the avant-garde artists like Hans Arp, Tristan Jara, Marcel Wanko, and Richard Dunsendijk. It was like a mix of a club and an art center where they showcase art, poetry, music, and dance. And as the war continued, their art became more, experimental and rebellious. And together, they protested against the senselessness and the horrors of war, calling it Dada. And now, you already know about Dadaism. So let's talk about its characteristics. First one is humoristic. It is humoristic because the artists are provoking or intended to provoke laughter. Second one is leaning towards nonsense. I guess it's pretty obvious, right? Because as I mentioned earlier, Dadaism talks about nonsense. So the artist is leading to nonsense. And third one is mocking authority. Because they are against and they think that it was all nonsense. Fourth one is made from found objects. Because this means that their art is made of objects like cut pictures and put it all together because their art are mostly made of collage or ready-mades. And the last one is artistic freedom because the artist encompasses the freedom to create. And we pick 5 best artists in the Dadaism period, which are Hugo Ball, Marcel Duchamp, Hans Arp, Hannah Man Ray, and the featured artist that we picked, Francis Marie Martinez Picabia. So let's proceed to the next slide. Francis Marie Martinez Picabia was a French avant-garde artist and was born on January 22, 1879 in Paris, France. He was a son of Cuban diplomat father and a French mother. Francis Picabia was independently wealthy, and in the late 1890s, he studied under artists such as Fernand Cormon, and attended to École d'Art in Paris. I guess you were wondering who is Fernand Cormon. So Fernand Cormon was a French painter, and he has a successful career as a painter and a teacher. His pupils included Matisse and Van Gogh. And what is École d'Art? That means it's a school of decorative arts. But then again, let's go back to Francis Picabia. So Francis Picabia was a French painter, illustrator, designer, writer, and editor who successfully involved the art movement, Dada, Cubism, and Surrealism. But why Cubism and Surrealism are involved? Because Francis Picabia was moving into different places and shift in style. Because he was experimenting and discovering himself in which field he would fit best as an artist. And in addition, Francis Picabia was known for his sense of humor and to his willingness to challenge societal norms. And he died on November 30, 1953 in Paris. But before that, in the year 1951, he was admitted because of stroke, but it was not stated the real cause of his death. Here's Francis Picabia masterpieces that we picked. Adam and Eve, Dances at the Spring, Very Rare, Pictures on the Earth, Ideal, and W. Rastadada. Next slide, please. So, the image shows was one of the masterpieces of Francis Picabia, the W. Rastadada. So, we can also see here that it was a collage, right? Because as what I have mentioned earlier, that Dadaism art was through collage and ready-mades. But before I will tell the elements and principles of design, let me tell you a quick background of the W. Rastadada. So, in the masterpiece shown that it has a hidden message, mysterious puzzles, and in joke. Because in W. Rastadada, the artist was depicting himself as a playboy kicked by the woman palms. A failure was suggested by the words irate, and even a social climber, the Rasta. And in the Rastadada stands for Rastakir, a rich foreign upstart. These elements together was created a self-deprecating, punning, and self-portrait. And now let's talk about the elements and principle of design. So value because the masterpiece was showing the intensity, the lightness and the darkness of the art. And shallow space because the cut pictures were put together and shows without much space. And positive space because the man in the center is the area of the focus. And principles of design, composition, because the cut pictures was organized, and unity because the artists used similar and repeated pictures to show consistency. We would like to extend our gratitude to everyone who's behind this output. Thank you to our researcher, Miss Kathleen, and to our designer, Miss Cherry. And I would also like to thank myself as the reporter. Thank you.